بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا وقدوتنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. So let's get the live stream going. Okay, looks like we're in, connected, recording. Let's pick up where we left off. Is everybody able to, the video is okay, the sound is okay? I've just had a notification that the connection was unstable. That's all right. Okay, so we had completed through 9. Let's go on to number 10, someone from the Sheikh family.
Man anta ya waladu ana anabnu Abbasin.
Translate.
Who are you, oh boy?
Yep.
I am Abbasin. I am Abbas.
I am the son of Abbas. Abbas's son. Okay, so we have man anta ya waladu, and that's I like your hesitation because it showed us that, you know, there's a cultural sort of thing going on here, something that would maybe be fine in Arabic that isn't necessarily as automatically fine in English. So literally, who are you, oh child, or oh son, or oh boy, right? Which is not quite what we would say in English, but in Arabic, no problem. Yeah, walad. Actually, in Saudi Arabia, you hear this all the time. If there's a young person, a boy on the street that you don't know, you're gonna hear, yeah, walad. Like, hey, boy. And you did a fantastic job with all of the harakat. Hear how she said, first of all, she said men. I'm going to get back to her on that. She didn't say min. Anta, which is the pronoun, detached subject pronoun for you, singular. And then we used here the Harf al-Nidaa, ya walad. And she knew that while normally walad would be waladun, if it's being used with part of this vocative particle, I think is the technical term for it, it will lose its tanween. So she said ya waladu instead of ya waladun, and that was completely 100% correct. Just as significantly, when we got to the other side, the answer, that ana, and then she hesitated and almost wanted to say ibnu, starting a new word, but then she realized that it's trying to get her to string these two words together. And so she backed up and said anabnu, which is correct. The Hamza al-Wasl here is being, I should say, occurs in the middle of our speech, and therefore we skip over it. And we have to connect what comes before and what comes after. So she said, Ana ibnu Abbasin, which is 100% correct. Now, how did you know? Explain to the class, how did you know that this was men and not min?
It's a question, first of all. And then if you read the rest of it, who are you? So man is who. It couldn't be min, so from or in, who are you? You know, in child. It doesn't make sense translating.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to ask you just some grammar questions about the answer to the question, Ana ibnu Abbasin. First of all, what type of sentence are we dealing with here? Ismiya or fi'liya?
Ismiya.
What's the mubtada?
Ana.
Yes, fantastic. And so the khabar is the entire phrase Ibn Abbas. Okay, this is a possessive construction. She knew to make the second part of the possessive construction in the genitive case, which is shown with the kasra, Abbasin. And she also knew that the ibn would be marfu' because it is part of the khabar. There's nothing to make it not marfu'. However, it would only have one dhamma because it was the first part of the possessive construction, right? So this little tiny question and response combines the three basic things that they're trying to teach in this lesson: possessive construction, Harf al-Nidaa, like calling out the vocative particle, and the Hamza al-Wasl and how to pronounce it. And she did a fantastic job. Someone else from the Sheikh family, tackle number 11.
وابن من هو ابن خالد.
Oh, very good. Can you translate that for
me? And who are you? He, and who is he? And he is Khalid.
Very close. It's not just who, it's whose son.
Oh, yes.
Right. So whose son is he? And then the response is,
he is Khalid's son.
Yeah, mashallah. What's our only clue? So this is tricky. This is very tricky to translate. The only clue we have to tell us that is that ibn has a one dhamma and not two. Right? The fact that it's one dhamma means that what this is, ibn men, is actually a possessive construction. Right? The first part is the part that is being possessed. The second part is the part that is doing the possessing. How come we don't see a kasra on the end of men? Can anybody answer either in the chat box or with the microphone? Why don't we have a kasra on men?
It's the same as the first question. It's a who, it's not an in.
Right. That addresses the first letter of the word, which is mim. I'm saying the last letter, the noon, right? Didn't we say that the second part of a possessive construction, like Ibnu Abbasin, has to have a kasra? What's going on with here? I'm trying to tell you, or I'm trying to sell you on the fact that Ibnu Men is a possessive construction, just like Ibnu Abbasin is. And the answer is in the chat box, yes, because men is mebni. It is fixed. It is indeclinable. It does not change. It grammatical. Yeah.
Because it is not the dhamma, it is the sukoon.
Yes.
Man.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Brother Muhammad Tariq. Because it is mebni ala sukoon. Exactly. It is fixed upon its sukoon. Men is always going to have sukoon all the live long day. Very good. But don't let that fool you that this is not a possessive construction. Ibnu Men is just as much a possessive construction as Ibnu Abbas. Well, then you could ask, well, wait a second. How do I break down this sentence? Like, this doesn't look like a jumla ismiya or a jumla fi'liya or anything that I've seen before. Well, this is an example where we have a simple sentence that you can recognize, but it's been reordered in order to demonstrate emphasis. So the default sentence is huwa ibnu men. Huwa ibnu men, right? He is whose son. However, we want to de-emphasize huwa and we want to emphasize whose son. And so this is a situation where we are allowed to switch them. Huwa is still the mubtada, ibnu man is the khabar, but we've reversed them in a question to emphasize what is it we're asking. we're more curious about who his father is than who he is, right? And so came the answer, huwa ibnu Khalidin. Now, going back to Ziyaddin for just a couple questions. Where is our mubtada in that sentence?
Huwa
Very good. And where's our khabar?
ibn Khalidin.
Very good. And why does Khalidin have two kasras at the end of it?
Papa, man.
Does it make sense?
Right. It doesn't.
It's an it has to have a kasra because of the construction of the sentence, but it's the names have two kasras.
Well done. You complete each other. Complementary, just like we're supposed to be. So Khalidin, it has any kasra at all because it is part of a possessive construction. Which part of the possessive construction? It's the second part, which is the one that's doing the possessing. Why does it have two kasras? Because it's a masculine proper noun, right? Which I heard you say in the first instance. Very, very good. Excellent job. Moving right along to Brother Muhammad Tariq. Could you try to tackle the longest one, I think, in this exercise, number 12? Oh, I think you remuted yourself.
I thought it's on mute. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Sorry. أين مسجد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هو في المدينة المنورة.
MashaAllah. Excellent job. I'm going to quiz you on one thing. What is the proper ending of the word Rasul? Is it a dhamma or is it a kasra?
It's a dhamma.
Okay. Who agrees with him? Say yes in the chat box if you agree with him that it's a dhamma. Say no in the chat box if you think that it's a kasra. Let's see what comes in. Arabic by democracy. Okay, ooh, good. We have a difference of opinion. The Sayyid said yes. Masarrat says no. Sheikh family, your vote is the last one to be counted. Okay, in the meantime, while we wait for them to, oh, Sheikh family says no, it's a kasra. Okay, so we're split half and half. Half of the class says it's dhamma, half of the class says it's kasra. Good. Either Muhammad Tariq or someone from the Sayyid family, tell me why should Rasul have a dhamma? What part of speech is it that it would have a dhamma? Like, is it mubtada, is it khabar, is it, you know, those sorts of things.
Because it's a part of like masjidu.
Okay.
Either, yeah, if masjidu has a dhamma, Rasul also has to be dhamma.
Awesome, good. What's the relationship between the Prophet ﷺ and the masjid? That's another question to ask. Let's see from the Sayyid. Sayyid, what do you have an answer? Why does Rasul have a dhamma?
I thought we were talking about specific masjid of Rasulullah, so it's part of it.
Okay, it's part of it. So Rasul is part of masjid? You mean it's like an adjective? Is that what you mean?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Well, good, because that rule is correct. In adjectives in Arabic, they follow the words that they come after in grammar. So that rule is correct. Now, I want someone from the opposite camp to justify their opinion that it should be a kasra here. Masarrat, what do you think?
I don't know the technical word, but So Rasul and Allah, that's already a possessive construction. And then Masjid of the Rasul, that's another possessive construction. And so what you told us is that we put the Dhamma on the first word and then everything that follows is Kasra.
So, this Allah says the relationship between Masjid and Rasul is not one of the huh? So this is the two opinions. If we say a Shafi'i says halal and Imam Ahmad says haram, these are our two opinions. Opinion one is that the relationship between Masjid and Rasul is that of an adjective, in which case Rasul will have a Dhamma because Masjid has a Dhamma. The second opinion is that Rasul has to have a Kasra because the relationship between Masjid and Rasul is one of possession. That the Masjid is possessed by the Prophet ﷺ. If not literally, meaning his property, then by what we call ikhtisas, like it's his in distinction, we could say. Okay? Does anybody want to change their vote at this point? Has anybody been convinced by the other side? Or is everyone doubling down? Okay.
It makes sense what they're saying, but I think this is more like in the sense of name of this masjid rather than someone have a property of someone else or possession of something.
Good, good. Okay, excellent. There's one thing in the sentence that tells the difference between these two, whether it's the relationship of adjective or the relationship of possession. And that is how, well, let's say the presence or absence of a tanween on masjid. Huh? If, and it's not your fault, you haven't studied adjectives yet. We'll get there soon. If the relationship between masjid and Rasul were the relationship between adjective describing something, then it would have to follow it not just in whether it's dhamma or fatha or kasra, but it would have to follow it whether it's nakira or ma'rif. So if we had this word by itself, the word is masjidun. Is that not true? Right? By itself, like forget the rest of the sentence. The word would be masjidun because there's no alif lam. Right? It would have to be masjidun. So the folks that say dhamma have to answer a question. Why did it lose one dhamma if it's not possessed? If it were the relationship of an adjective and a thing being described by an adjective, then it would have to be masjidun rasul, and it would originally be rasulun, but then it would disappear from rasul into just one because rasul we know is possessed by Allah. However, in this sentence, masjid has one dhamma taken away from it, which indicates that it is possessed by Rasul. And so this cannot be dhamma, it has to be kasra. And we have a double possessive construction. The masjid of the Prophet of Allah. The masjid of the Prophet of Allah, if we're going to be really ridiculous with a literal English translation. In English, the way that we idiomatically translate it obfuscates and hides this reality. We say the Prophet's masjid, right? So it's not clear. But if we're to tease it out, the masjid of the Prophet of Allah. And so this has to be kasra. Aina masjidu Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then the rest of the sentence was perfect. Huwa fil madinatil munawwarati. The first one has a kasra because of the preposition fi. The second one, oh, this is good, this is good. The second one has a kasra because it follows the first one. Here we have our adjective, al-Madinatul Munawwaratu, or in this case, fil madinati al-munawwarati. Notice how, and we haven't studied this. This is coming, I think, in the next lesson. Alif lam, kasra, kasra, one kasra, one kasra. If the relationship is adjective and thing being described, it has to match in all of these things. There's 4 things. That's just 3 of them. It has to match whether it is definite or indefinite. It has to match with whether it's kasra or fatha or dhamma. So here we have an example. Here we have an example of adjective, thing being described by the adjective. And over here, the proper relationship is one of possession. Aina masjidu rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me. Oh, it's frozen. Time out. Time out. Can everybody hear me now? Sorry about that. I was booted from the room.
There is no sound.
There's no sound even now. Very strange.
There is a sound, but it's in and out.
Very strange. I don't know what's going on with the internet tonight. Sorry about that. My apologies. Okay. You know what? I'm going to cut the live stream just because I don't want it to be draining us. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay. So that was a very, very educational sentence. And I'm glad that we had the opportunity to go over it together. Just the final point on this, huwa is the mubtada, right? Fil madinati al-munawwarati, that's the khabar. That should be pretty easy. So we can see now that our khabar can get quite long if we really want it to. It doesn't have to be limited to 1 or 2 words. It depends on what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to say about our subject. Fantastic, great job. Okay, number 13, down to masarrat. Oh, what I said about which thing? Oh, good. Okay, so this is just a preview because we're going to go over this in a couple lessons, inshallah. Is that the relationship here between al-Madina and al-Munawwara is the relationship between an adjective and the thing that an adjective describes. We could maybe coin a term, describer, described, or something like that. So the rules for such a thing are that it has to agree in several things. It has to agree in whether it's definite or not. Ma'rifa nakira. So that's why this has an alif lam and this has an alif lam. It has to agree in number, whether it is singular or plural. This is singular. This is singular. It has to agree in gender, whether it is feminine or masculine. Here it's feminine, feminine. And it finally has to agree in i'rab. It has to agree in the vowel ending. So we have 1 kasra here and we have 1 kasra here. We have not learned that. You're not responsible for knowing that. That just happened to come up in this particular example. We're going to learn that formally, not in the near future, inshallah. So those are the rules for adjective and thing being described by an adjective, whereas what we've been learning is the relationship between possessor and possessed, right? It takes away the tanween of the possessed and it makes the possessor majroor with a kasr. Very good. Okay, we're on to, did that come through? Did that clear it up? Okay, so go ahead, Masarrat, and do number 13 for us.
بنت حامد في المدرسة وبنت محمد في الجامعة.
Fantastic, great job. Okay, so what type of sentence are we dealing with? فعلية.
اسمية جملة اسمية. Well, two جملة two. The first one, the مبتدأ is بنت حامد, and the second, the خبر is في المدرسة, and then the second one, the مبتدأ is بنت محمد, and the خبر is في الجامعة.
Yes, fantastic, great work. Okay, bintu hamidin, and they have two kasras because they are proper masculine names. Very good. Oh, and translate that for us while we're at it.
Hamid's daughter is in school, I guess, and Muhammad's daughter is in university.
Very good, excellent. And this could both mean literally or figuratively in Arabic. It could mean that that's where they're located right now, in which case we in English would not use the preposition in, we would use at, right? Like Hamid's daughter is at school, Muhammad's daughter is at the university. Or it could mean their level of study if someone's asking them, like in which case we would also use in. Very good. Someone from the Sayyids, number 14.
Okay. Ismul mudarrasi sayyidun wasmul muhandisi khalidun.
MashaAllah, fantastic. What is my only correction on your pronunciation is mudarris.
Mudarris.
I think you just picked that up from Muslim. So,
Okay.
so translate that for us.
The teacher's name is Saeed. The teacher's name is Saeed, and the engineer's name is Khalid.
Yes, excellent work. Good job. What type of sentences are we dealing with here? Ismiya or fi'liya?
Ismiya.
Very good. What's the subject of the sentence? Or what's the mubtada? Let's just look at the first half.
Yeah, it's small mudarrasi.
Yes, ismul mudarrisi. Very good.
Okay, this is your fault.
The whole possessive construction is the subject, right? The teacher's name. What are we saying about the teacher's name? It is Sa'id here. Or in the case of the second one, the engineer's name. What is the engineer's name? It is Khalid. We're giving information about somebody's name. Very, very good. And okay, Brother Muhsin, go ahead and do number 15. Oh, look, he gets a 9.
Amma talibi ghaniyun.
Very good. We have not talked about this word. I think it's the first time it comes. This means uncle. Okay, uncle. Paternal uncle, I should say. In Arabic, like in many languages, they distinguish between paternal and maternal uncles. So, an am, as opposed to khal, is a paternal uncle. I'll write that over here. Very good. Okay, so go ahead and translate that sentence for us.
Student's uncle is rich.
Very good. Okay. Now, I heard you say I'm talibi with a fatha. Are you confident that that's a fatha?
Well, the way you are saying, it's probably not.
Yeah, it's not a very good open-ended question, right? Okay. So okay? Let's go backwards. We'll come around to the question the answer naturally. What is the mubtada of the sentence?
Amma or
Just the first word?
Oh, with amma talibi.
Yeah, very good. So the whole possessive construction. Here's this guy. It's the student's uncle. and he's the subject. Here, he's who we're going to give some information about. What information? We're going to tell you that he is rich. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So, what is the default grammatical case for the mubtada? Is it marfu'? Is it majroor? Is it mansoob?
It's
Marfu.
Dhamma,
Marfu.
which is probably Marfu, yeah.
Which means that it has a dhamma, which means that everything is marfu' until proven otherwise. Just like you're innocent, proven guilty. If we're in the mubtada or we're in the khabar, the subject or the predicate, every word is going to be marfu' with a dhamma until proven otherwise. Here's a situation with al-talib where, okay, it's proven otherwise. Why? Because it's the second part of a possessive construction. But the first part of the possessive construction, there's nothing before it that would change it from having been a dhamma. So the correct way to read it is ammu talibi ghaniyun. And that keeps in line. That way we can tell that this is mubtada marfu'. Very good. Okay, back to the top. Brother Muhammad Tariq, could you do number 16?
Hello, did you hear me?
Oh, no, I think you were muted.
Sorry. Babul masjidi maftuhun wa babul madrasati mughallaqun.
MashaAllah. Very good. Can you translate that for us?
Babul masjidi maftuhun. I don't know the meaning of maftuhun. I forgot.
Okay, very good. Let's write this in here. So maftuh means, oh, you're right. We haven't learned that word yet. Open.
Open. Okay. The door of the masjid is open, and the door of the school is closed.
Very good. Fantastic. MashaAllah. Yes. Very good. So he read that completely correct. MashaAllah. Said babul masjidi. So he had bab with a dhamma because it's the mubtada. The first half of the mubtada, the entire possessive construction is the mubtada. Maftuhun, that's our khabar. That's what we're telling you about. What's so special about babul masjidi? What do we want to communicate? We want to communicate that it's open. Maftuhun. And you guys should recognize that this comes from the verb stem, fataha, which means he opened. Okay? So, fataha, he opened. Fatih, opener. Right? We can make maftuh. Okay, well, why don't we just get into a little bit of morphology then, with 5 minutes left. Sure, let's do it. So, I think I mentioned before this concept called ismul fa'il or ism fa'il. Basically, how do we take a 3-letter root and we make it into the doer of an action? In English, we do this with ER, okay, or sometimes just R. We say, I baked a cake. I am a baker, right? Somebody who habitually and regularly bakes cakes, you slap an R or an ER onto the end, and it makes somebody who does that action repeatedly or predictably. The way to achieve this in Arabic is to take the 3-letter root and to put it on the wazn fa'il, to put it on the pattern, let's say. So fataha is the past tense verb, becomes fatih, fatihun, the opener. Okay? Just like there's a pattern, special pattern, and knowing these patterns is part of the discipline of morphology, it's part of studying any language, is the ism maf'ul. Whoops. I did not expect to get into this today, but we're here. Maf'ul, okay? This is the past participle. Okay. What's the relationship between open, he opened, opener, and then the adjective or past participle opened? It is opened. It was opened. Receiver. Very good. That's a nice translation of ism maf'ul. So we have here adjectives can be on the pattern of the ism fa'il. Whoa, I totally spelled that wrong in my trying to speak and write at the same time. Or they can be on the pattern of the ism maf'ul if they have received the action. Maftuhun. And we have the same thing with mughlaqun. Mughlaqun, which you can probably guess means closed from ghalaqa. Any questions? Yes.
Not a question, actually. So we speak a different language called Urdu.
Yes.
And Urdu and English, Urdu and Arabic has the same letters, but the words have different meaning.
Yeah.
For example, here is maftuh. In our language, fateh or fatha is different meaning, totally different meaning. It means the invader.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
even in Arabic, it can figuratively mean invader. But the original meaning is to open. Why do they also call like Fatih the Conqueror? I think was like one of the famous like Ottoman
Yes.
conquerors, right? They
Yes.
Fatih because it opened new lands, right? Or opened a certain city to siege or things like that. So we have a literal meaning. Fatmah.
Yeah.
We have a literal meaning, and over time it became attached with a figurative meaning. And sometimes people use the figurative and they don't use the literal anymore. In Arabic, we still use both. I don't know about Urdu. Maybe you guys exclusively use the figurative meaning. But in Arabic, we still use both. You can say fataha if you open a door or open a can or whatever. And you can also say fat to indicate a conquest or some sort of military thing. Very good. Excellent. Thank you for that contribution. Moving on to the, so Sheikh family, you wanted to repeat which thing?
The root word of the open the door.
Excellent. Good. Every Arabic word can be traced back to a root word. Okay. The root word has 3 letters and it is a past tense verb. Okay. So fataha literally means he opened. But that is the, morphologically speaking, the base root word from which we can derive 10, 15 words or more, right? How do we derive other types of words from the third person past tense verb? Through knowing what the patterns are. I just introduced you to 2 of those patterns. One of those patterns is called ism fa'il. So the fa'il part, that's your pattern. And the second pattern is called ism maf'ul. And that's your second pattern, maf'ul. So if you take your 3-letter root and you manipulate it and change it to fit this pattern, then you're going to get a word, a new word that exists on that pattern with a specific type of meaning. So this pattern, ism fa'il, is for the doer of a verb, especially if that verb is done habitually or regularly. So if we want to make a noun that indicates this verb, fataha, opener, regularly or predictably, then we would put it on this pattern, fa'il, fatih, fatih. A lot of names, especially male names, come from this. Adil, from adala, which means to be just. Even Aisha, the feminine version. Ish means to live. Tack on a ta marbuta, and that means female, living. Aisha, sprightly, lively, right? So there's that. And then the second pattern is ism maf'ul, which is the past participle. That means not, as opposed to up here, not one who is constantly doing this action, but something that is or has had that action already done to it. Maftuhun, opened. Yes, good example. Another ism fa'il salih. Lots of names, especially male names, are on this pattern of ism fa'il. So we have maftuhun, masrurun, happy, and then so on and so forth. This is not a formal taking on of this topic. This is just to introduce you and to put the idea in your head, because this is how Arabic works. You learn the base, the root word, you learn the patterns, you apply, and you can have fun. It's a very, very organized language. And you learn the rules and you apply the rules for the most part. Good. We're running over time. Let's just finish these last. How many do we have? Oh, we have 4. Okay, let's just try to finish these 4. Okay. Sheikh family, can you do 17?
Alu Hamidin Faqirun.
Excellent work. And that is the
Hamid's aunt is poor.
close. It's maternal uncle,
Uncle. Oh, okay.
because if it were the aunt, it would have a ta marbuta. It would become khalatun. Just like amma would be ammatun. We'll get there later. This is maternal uncle, khal. Khalu hamidin faqirun. Very good. The mubtada, khalu hamidin. What is he? He's poor. Faqirun. May Allah bless as well. Next one. Let's go to Brother Zia. Could you do 18?
Sayyaratu Abbasin fil Shari'i.
Very good. Fish shari.
Ri'i.
Excellent. A shari is the street. Okay. Street or road. Okay. A shari. And that is also on this pattern. Fa'il from shara'a. Good. Sayyaratu Abbasin is the mubtada. That's why sayyara has a dhamma. It's part of possessive construction, which means it's only going to have one dhamma. Fish shari. Where is it? It's in the street. And that's the khabar. Very good. Okay. Sister Masarrat, could you do number 19?
Ibnu man anta? Ana ibnul mudarris.
Very
Mudarrisi, sorry. Ana ibnul mudarrisi.
great job. So just for the sake of time, I'm not gonna ask any questions. But then this is our possessive construction. Okay. Technically, this is the mubtada here. Anta. Ibnu man is the khabar. But because we're emphasizing, we're changing it around. Not so important with questions. Here it's straightforward. Ana is the mubtada. Ibnul mudarrisi is the khabar. It's in the possessive construction, and so al-mudarrisi only has one kasra. Good. And someone from the Sayyid family, you can do rock, paper, scissors to decide who if you want. Number 20.
Ain al-kalbu, sorry. Ain al-kalbu huwa tahta as-sayyarati.
Fantastic, mashallah. And good teamwork there. So, ain al-kalbu, where is the dog? So it throw you for a curveball because it's way simpler than all the other questions in the whole exercise. All the other ones we're using possessive constructions, and so we're waiting for it. Now is we just have a straight, where is it? Right? Ain al-kalbu, huwa, dog is masculine here. Tahta, under. I think we talked about that before. Tahta as-sayyarati, and this is a possessive construction. Mubtada. Oops. didn't mean to draw that right there. Huwa is the mubtada, tahta as-sayyarati is the khabar. Fantastic job. We're overtime. Thank you for everybody for your patience and staying. Anybody have any questions? Starting next week on Wednesday, we will be moving the class an hour later because the prayer times are now getting later. Okay, so it's been starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be starting next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As for the Saturday class, this week it's going to be at its normal time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. The following week, it's going to be an hour earlier, inshallah, 10 a.m. Okay, so we're going, the day is expanding in both directions and the class is shifting in both directions as well. Oh boy, dates. I'm not that on top of things that I know what date is next Wednesday. But I'll trust you and say that it's the next Wednesday is the, yes, so February 3rd and February 6th are the first classes upon the new time. Right. So this week's classes are all upon the old time. Okay. And I'll send an email out to everybody so you have that information at hand, inshallah. Okay. Fantastic job. Very, very happy with this class. Everybody's doing amazing work. And I hope that you are feeling the reward of learning a new language, especially Arabic, and how much you've been able to understand in just a short amount of time. This is page 30. We've already done 30 pages and we've learned a lot in those 30 pages. So excellent work. Keep up the good job. And I will see you next time, inshallah. Yeah, we can do a review class. That's a good idea. We can do a review class. I'll try to look for a time. I mean, this class is fairly long. Excuse me, not class. This lesson is fairly long. So we'll at least get to the end of this class before doing a review class. That's a good idea. Brother Muhammad Tariq, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, it was very enlightening. If we have a little bit more examples from the Quran, like you have done it in the past, and it relates more. Yeah.
Thanks for the feedback. I will try to incorporate more examples from the Quran. Always a good thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, okay. I'll see you all next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Yeah.